Oh, there we go. We're live. Hold on.
Oh, hey, how are you doing? Waiting for your little countdown thingy there.
Yeah, not this time.
Not this time? Okay.
No. I
Done with
decided against it. We've been counting down for months, Brian.
Yes, we have. How about that?
Oh, my goodness.
You got to remind me, by the way, to connect to the station before we start on the radio because I'm not connected at the moment.
Okay. Once I get that text from Tyler telling us what time, I'll remind you. Flyers, Canadiens tonight. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the streaming portion of the show. We'll be on the radio in 15 minutes about. So it's Flyers, Habs tonight. Did you see last night that the Seattle Kraken beat Colorado 3-2?
You know what? I did not actually.
Yeah. I think we just assumed they were going to lose that game, and they would be have the third worst winning percentage and points percentage in the NHL, and the Flyers will be back to fourth. But no. Flyers still now have the third lowest or the third worst winning percentage in the league. And if there was no lottery, they would have the third pick in the draft, which makes it easier to move up by 1.2 percentage points.
How many more ping pong balls is that, I wonder?
Yeah, I don't know. Because they're at, I think, at 10.9% right now.
Yeah. To
land the top pick. And 9.7 is the fourth worst record in the league.
I guess how many more ping pong balls isn't quite the.
Yeah, it gets all like digital now.
There are ping pong balls, but there's like 1 through 10.
Yeah, they do it weird.
And then they assign. It's like pick 4. You know, like when you buy a pick 4 ticket, except they give you like 10% of the possible combinations for the pick 4 or something.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it used to be. We were talking about this today on our Stick Hockey Live show. That back in the 06-07 season, that the Flyers had a 2% chance of landing the number 1 overall pick.
Wow, that's weird.
That lottery reform, because they want to prevent teams from having such a huge chance to do it by having the worst record and therefore losing on purpose. So now the worst record in the league, I think, is 16.4%. I want to say.
The odds out yesterday, the league. Did you tell me we had a 42% chance in 06-07? We still didn't get it.
Nope. Yeah. We got James Van Riemsdyk, and Chicago got future Hall of Famer Patrick Kane. 16.6 is the highest odds now.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what changed. The league sent this out yesterday. It might be different because there's 32 teams, but right now they list the number 1 seed with 18.5%, the number 2 with 13.5%, and the number 3 with 11.5%.
That's to land in the top spot.
The allocation of odds for the first lottery draw is what they say.
Huh.
And again, you know, if you are, you know, you can't move up more than 10.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I guess they tweaked it a little bit. I don't know, but
wow. Yeah, the Flyers are right now, according to Tankathon, a 10.9% chance to land the number 1 overall pick. And the reason why when you do the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator, you see them more now is because the team with the best odds at 16.6 is not that much greater than 10.9.
Right. And the thing is, like, with the way this is set up here, you know, the Flyers are not going to get – they're not going to, you know, Arizona's not going to pass them.
No, neither is Montreal.
Montreal could. They could pass Seattle, but the difference between 4 and 2 is only a total of 4% in this chart, and the difference between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 is 2%. So, you know, their odds aren't going to increase for the first pick much, whether they move up or down. It's just, to me, it's like, you know, what's the worst thing that could happen? And where they are right now, the worst that could happen is 5.
Yeah.
If Montreal passes them, the worst that could happen would be 4. If they pass Seattle, it could go down to 6. So that's more likely that they're going to pick 4 or 5 or 6 than it would be that they move up. But you know,
Seattle's actually won 3 straight and are 5-5 in their last 10.
Attaboy Hack.
Yeah. Now the Flyers and Montreal have each lost 6 straight, and Arizona has lost 8 straight.
Okay.
So somebody's got to break this losing skid tonight.
So I clicked through, and again, I don't know exactly how they have this lottery thing set up, but if you click through, you see the Flyers have a 10.9% chance of getting 1 or 2 right now. They have a 7% chance of moving up to 3. They have a almost 40% chance to stay where they're at 4. Or I'm sorry, that would actually
3.
that would drop them down. So 4, they have a better chance of dropping down than they do staying at 3.
Wow, that's weird.
According to this anyway. And then they have a 31.5% chance of hitting number 5. So that's what I'm kind of getting at. Is like they're under the way they got this set up right now. They have a 70% chance of dropping 2 spots, and only a 27% chance of picking 3rd or better. So that's kind of why it's like, all right, where you're going to move isn't as much as important. Maybe is where you finish. I don't know, but
yeah,
it's once you're in this nitty gritty of 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, there might be guys ahead of you that you definitely want better than others, but I mean, look at 2017. Arguably the best player in that draft was drafted 4th.
Yeah.
So you are still kind of guessing a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. And whatever happens, you got to find the right guy. Hey, one of the things I wanted to discuss in this, talking about this on Flyers Daily, talking about it a little bit on Stick to Hockey Live today too, is the Canadiens. They did something that I totally wouldn't have had the stones to do, and that was hire a guy with 0 professional coaching experience, and Marty St. Louis. Now they were horrific before. They only had 8 wins, I think, in 34 games, I think, at that point. And since then, I think they're 12, 14, and 4. So it's not like they're great all of a sudden, but clearly much better. And Cole Caulfield went from having 1 goal and 6 assists to having, in 32 games now, under Marty St. Louis, 30 points, 16 goals. So, or 17 goals, I think, and 13 assists in 32 games. And he literally has having a throwaway season, right?
Right.
1 goal, 6 assists, and you're going, oh my God, what is going on here? Did we screw this guy up? And Marty St. Louis comes in with, Luke Richardson stays, but they hire a guy that's got no coaching experience. And I think probably we're always conditioned to go, in right now, hey, you got to hire the right guy. You got to get this right. These guys got to have experience. He's got to be pedigree. And you know what? When I look at what's going on in Montreal, and again, not like he's done spectacular. He's not a miracle worker. They don't have the horses. But I think you got to relook at how you consider who you're going to hire as a coach in today's NHL, because players are younger and different than they've ever been before. The hard-ass days are probably over because today's athlete doesn't put up with it and they check out. So I think the way you look at it, and I think you also, you can't hire, for lack of a better term, a Ken Hitchcock that's a slob, because they're not going to respect it.
Right. Yeah. It was a very interesting situation overall, because of the way that it all came together. And this kind of also, it also has to do with the changes that are happening in front offices, where you not necessarily anymore is the general manager the number one voice. The trend right now in the NHL is you've got basically a 2-headed monster at the top. You've got a president of hockey operations, and then you've got a general manager reporting to that individual. And that kind of is what started it for me, because that's where Jeff Gorton comes in, and Gorton comes in, and brings in Kent Hughes, who also, I'm pretty sure, didn't have any GM experience.
No, he's an agent.
Yeah, he was an agent. So these two guys had a relationship, before, all this came together in Montreal. Just looking back at it a little bit, trying to, kind of connect the dots here. When Marty St. Louis retired, he was still, I guess, trying to decide what to do, maybe. And all the way back in 2017, going back 5 years now, the scuttlebutt was that Jeff Gorton offered St. Louis the head coaching job in Hartford, which was their American Hockey League affiliate. So he had already targeted him a little bit in the past. He didn't want to do that at the time, but then he latched on in Columbus, working for John Tortorella, doing some stuff with special teams, and there was also a familiarity there between Hughes and St. Louis that went all the way back to when St. Louis was playing in college, apparently. So these guys all knew each other, and so
their kids play together.
Yeah, it wasn't as far fetched as it might seem. And we're seeing that a little bit in the Flyers. I mean, the Flyers have drafted a couple of kids recently out of Minnesota that same deal. Chuck Fletcher knew these kids from some of these kids playing with each other or their neighbors or something like that.
Pee-wees.
So you're starting to see a little bit of a shift, if you will, in how coaches are hired and brought up and stuff like that. And that's why, I don't know where the Flyers are going with their head coaching position. I'm sure Mike Yeo will be a candidate. But, if he is not retained, it's not necessarily a situation where you want to go out and bring in some big name. I think
that's not
necessarily the automatic way to go anymore.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, I'm going, you know what? Like, hey, I may be underwhelmed by the name and the marquee value, but I don't care. You got to get it right.
Right.
No matter what the move is, you got to get it right. So you can't hire a guy because they'll appease the fans because he's got some great resume or whatever. You can't, because if you hire that guy and he's not the right guy, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to go anywhere with him anyway. Whoever you hire has just got to be the right guy. Like, I don't want to hire Rick Tocchet because he played for the Flyers or because he beat the crap out of some people as a player. I don't care about any of that. If I'm going to hire Rick Tocchet, I want them to hire him because he's the right guy for the gig.
Yeah.
Don't hire him for any other reason than he's the right guy for the gig. Not because he's a Flyer, not because he'll garner you positive headlines for 2 weeks while, that honeymoon period is. By the way, connect real quick. We're going to go live in like 5 minutes.
Read my mind.
So, yeah, I mean, you just got to get this right, but I think you have to think about it in non-traditional terms and maybe consider candidates that 5 years ago you'd never would have considered.
Right. Yep, absolutely. And, again, for me, it's not necessarily a slam dunk to get anybody out there that's a big name that might become available. There still is this scuttlebutt about half of the coaches in this league being on expiring contracts for whatever reason. But, I have for me on the short list, if he does not stay in Edmonton, is Jay Woodcroft. He is a guy that has been.
Well, you've got a personal connection there.
I know. I've known him for a long time. Yeah. And he's really.
He's staying there, by the way.
Yeah, he probably is. I can't imagine. He goes back with Ken Holland way, way back, before, like even into Detroit. So I don't know why they wouldn't keep him. But that's a short list if he doesn't stay there. I think. Bruce Boudreau has shown that he is still relevant, obviously, in Vancouver, but I don't see him getting out of there either.
There's a lot of talk, though, that it may be one and done for him there. I don't know why, but
yeah, I wouldn't know why either, unless he just
doesn't make any sense.
Like Vancouver, but
I don't think it's on his end though. I think it's on their end.
Okay. Well, if he's available, I'd talk to him.
Oh my God, yeah, I would too.
I don't know if there are many other current head coaches that excite me very much. I'm sure again, the one thing I do want to say is that, if the Flyers do go off the board a little bit here, you can't necessarily look at the guy and say, oh, it's another Dave Haxtell. You can't do that. That has nothing to do with anything. So
it has to be the right guy.
But yeah, it just got to be the right fit.
Yeah. And I mean, look, there's a lot of coaches, every coach at one point has no experience. And then all of a sudden he has experience, like Rob Brindamore. And these guys that played the game pretty recently, for some reason, I think they speak to the younger players in a different way than some of the the well-seasoned guys like even Alain Vigneault or Claude Julien or John Tortorella. I don't know who that is, but
yeah, and I mean, let's not get silly here, but it's again looking at the guys that are coming. Like Danny Briere is in the front office now for the Flyers. He had been running the Maine Mariners. His coach there, Riley Armstrong, is now an assistant in Lehigh Valley.
Yeah,
he could come up and be part of a staff at some point. I mean, it goes as nuts as to say, like Nick Luco is a head coach now in
Reading.
the Southern Pro League. He probably needs some more seasoning, but his team is doing pretty well down there. So you're going to start seeing guys come out of these various places that are are going to be getting opportunities that have earned them down there, where they're just kind of off the radar a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the coach situation too will be our first indication of what direction they may be going in this offseason. Like you can say aggressive retool in a press conference. Yeah, those are just words to me.
Yeah.
What your actions and who the next coach is, I think that'll be the first thing that I think we kind of find out. And that'll be the first indication maybe what direction they're planning on going.
Right.
So, you mean you don't take out a billboard and say, "Hey, this is what we're doing, everybody."
Yeah, and to be honest with you, the other terminology out there, blow it all up. Well, that's even if you want to do that, it's not quite as easy. You can't just fire all the players.
Yeah.
You got to go about it a certain way.
Flyers hockey is
right. Ready to do
Here's Becky, right to the net. He's gone. He's going in all alone. Back in, he's gone.
It's Jason Martinez. It's Brian Smith. It is Flyers game day. Flyers and Montreal tonight as the season heads towards its, dare I say, Brian, timely conclusion.
Yes. Yeah, it is time to kind of get it over with, isn't it? This is one of those years where, it kind of drags on because of the circumstances surrounding everything. But it also feels longer just from the standpoint of, we are ending 3 weeks later than normal. And if you've done this long enough, you kind of get in a rhythm. And, right now everybody's time hop is talking about past playoff series and stuff like that. I mean, we are going into late April here with this season. So, it does drag on a little bit, but, at least the weather's nice. And, you and I don't have to go to Winnipeg on Monday. So that's always a
Well, the thing is like usually if this time of year and you're still playing or even, at game 77, if you're going to the playoffs, you ride the adrenaline of it. And, at this point, when you've known for so long you're not going to the playoffs, it does become exhausting. It's not fun for the players to go to the rink. They're kind of all in the same thing, like tick, tick, tick. We're trying to be pros here, but we've been playing some pretty meaningless hockey games for a while, standings wise. And yeah, we need to be pros and all that. But there is a thing like human nature that comes in, and it's just like, geez, can we just end this already?
Yeah, and
Does this need to continue on?
And it's not unique to the Flyers right now. It happens to every team that is kind of playing out the string. And I've been involved with some teams that have played out the string before. It just kind of starts to drag, especially when the weather turns nice and things like that. So some of these guys, they've got a pretty good inkling that they may be, not back next year, the ones on expiring contracts and stuff. So I'm sure they're going to, be, trying to think of what their future's like. You got other guys that, are just trying to get themselves situated for next year because they know they will be back. So, there's a lot of variables at stake here for these last few games.
Yeah. And, you got Montreal tonight. You're going to have Pittsburgh on Sunday at Wells Fargo Center, 4:00. And then be in Chicago next Monday, Winnipeg next Tuesday. And then they'll wrap it up a week from tomorrow against the Ottawa Senators. Then the offseason will come. And, the Montreal Canadiens are kind of a tale of two different seasons.
Yeah.
The Flyers really didn't have this kind of line of demarcation like the Canadiens did. Canadiens got off to a horrific start, as did the Flyers. Flyers, I mean, their start looked like aces compared to the Canadiens start. It was that bad. But once they made the coaching change from Dom Ducharme to Marty St. Louis, a lot changed for the Canadiens, and I know that the feeling around the Canadiens feels far different.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Apparently, I don't know Marty St. Louis at all. Never met him, nothing like that. But apparently, he brings an entire new energy to this team, to this franchise. We were talking a little bit about it before we hopped on the radio audience tonight. But there's that unwritten requirement for being a head coach in Montreal that you have to be bilingual. So that to me, gives them an opportunity to do something like this and bring in a Marty St. Louis. And there was a lot of familiarity with him and some of the front office members. But, it was kind of a situation with the Flyers where they did a similar thing. Obviously, they got rid of Lane Vigneault. They elevate Mike Yeo. And, it's going to take you 2 or 3 weeks usually for a coach to kind of get his team going the way that he wants him to. The difference of the Flyers this year was after that 2 to 3 weeks went by, all of a sudden everybody got hurt. And now you're trying to go into the new year with 10 guys out of the lineup. And so, anything Mike Yeo wanted to do never really took hold, unfortunately for him. So, that's kind of the difference, I think, between these two franchises this year is that Montreal has been able to kind of take off and have new life. But, it's what the offseason is for, right? Is a reset and just try to get things pointed back the right way.
Yeah, Montreal's got a couple good pieces. Obviously, Nick Suzuki, one of those guys. And you look at a guy like Cole Caulfield, who has had a drastically different experience this year under Marty St. Louis than he did under Dom Ducharme. He just got off to a horrific start, 1 goal and 6 assists in his first 34 games this year under Ducharme. And since then, just under a point per game player. So sometimes that coach can really change how a player's used and how a player feels about his game. Tonight for the Flyers, though, Brian, they're going to go back to Martin Jones tonight. I'm a little surprised they're going to go to Martin Jones in this game tonight. I thought it'd be another opportunity to get a look at Felix Sandstrom. Jones played the game on Tuesday night that the Flyers played against Toronto, but he's going to be back in net tonight. I thought that we'd probably see Sandstrom tonight, and almost a bit of a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, again, what the overall philosophy is right now. I mean, obviously, normally you're just trying to win the game. The Flyers are maybe in a little bit of a different boat in just terms of taking a look at people. But Martin Jones in his career is 8-1 all time against the Canadiens with a 1.89 goals against average. So
so put him on the bench.
He's done better with those guys in front of him. But I also have to wonder if it's a matter of, if you put Felix, Linus Hogberg has to make his debut tonight because the Flyers lost Kevin Connaughton last game. So you've got, 3 of your 6D that have probably played less than 10 games in the NHL. Yeah. And I don't know what if they're worried about maybe putting Sandstrom out there with that kind of defense in front of him. Maybe I don't know. They may have an idea that somebody's close to coming back, and so they're going to wait until those guys come back to get Sandstrom in there. But there, like you mentioned, there's a back-to-back coming up Sunday, Monday, and then the long trip to Winnipeg. So I would be surprised if he doesn't split the last 4 games, for the Flyers. But I'm sure there's some background as to why they decided to go with Jones tonight.
Yeah, and we will see Linus Hogberg tonight. He was a 5th-round pick, 139th overall back in the 2016 NHL draft. Yet to make his NHL debut. He'll do that tonight. He got the rookie lap in last season, in the 2021 season for the Phantoms. He played 26 games, 2 goals, 6 assists, and 8 points. And this year in 57 games, no goals, 7 assists. And that's all he's got on the campaign, actually, 14 penalty minutes. And we'll see him tonight. I wasn't sure if they were going to call up Hogberg or Wiley tonight, and they went with Hogberg. Mm-hmm. So we'll get a look at him. But, I mean, you're so far down on the depth chart here when it comes to getting defensemen on the ice. I mean, it's almost unparalleled at this point. Yeah. When you lose Ristolainen, you lose Ellis, obviously. You lose Cam York. You've got so many guys out. Connaughton now. This is bonkers.
Yeah, I don't know if it was I'm sure there was consideration, too, in terms of positioning and things like that. I don't know exactly what some of the guys are as far as right or left down in Lehigh Valley. But, Hogberg is got a lot of experience to his game playing with men and stuff like that, but not a lot, obviously, in North America. He's one of those guys who's development kind of got sidetracked a little bit by the pandemic. He was playing in the Swedish Elite League for 4 seasons really before when the pandemic hit, and he came over when the AHL season started in 2020, but he only got 26 games in because the season was so short. So he's been, from what we understand, he's been pretty steady this year. He had an upper body injury that cost him about a month earlier this year. Actually, fairly recently, he was out from like mid-March to mid-April, so he's kind of making a comeback here. And it's what we're told, he's a hard-working kid, and maybe this is a bit of a reward for him too to get him in there and get him his first taste of NHL action.
Well, he'll get a taste of it tonight, and a good building to get your first game in, the Bell Center. Not a bad place to do it. One of the meccas of hockey, at least modern-day hockey, that is. So stay tuned. Tim Saunders and Steve Coates, they are at the Bell Center. They are north of the border, and they're going to have the countdown to face off all the first period action between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Montreal Canadiens. They'll do it tonight. Final 5 games of the season begins in just a couple of moments. Stay tuned. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.